You're listening to Milwaukee Mafia, your podcast dose of Wisconsin Mafia and true crime history.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Milwaukee Mafia podcast. I'm Eric.
I'm Gavin.
And Gavin, we've got kind of a special story again for the listeners. What are we going to be talking about today?
Yeah, we're really taking a detour recently. So you had asked me to put together a little history of the Outlaws Motorcycle Club, and I did that. So we're going to do that today. Before I get into that, I want to show you this book.
Okay.
So everybody listening, look, I'm holding up a book.
You Gotta Be Dirty by Michael Grogan.
Yep, You Gotta Be Dirty by Michael Grogan. So this is a book written by Michael Grogan, obviously. And my understanding, this book is almost 10 years old at this point. I believe that Michael Grogan had written his master's thesis, and then he adapted that into this book.
Okay.
So if you're looking for a book on the Outlaws in Milwaukee and Wisconsin, like, it already exists.
Gavin doesn't have to write it.
I don't have to write it. Now, I will say this. There's a lot of things in this book that are not going to be in my summary today. And there's a lot of things in Outlaws history that are not in the book.
Okay.
I was kind of surprised by that when I did a little digging myself. Well, I'll get into it in a moment, but like the founders of the club don't really come up a lot in the book, which I thought was surprising. And it sort of stops. The most recent head of the Outlaws, which is at this point over 20 years ago, is not in the book. So it's not, the book is not entirely complete beginning to end.
Is it just not go up that far?
Yeah, it doesn't. This doesn't go up that far.
So this group must have quite a history.
Yeah. So there's still more out there. I was thinking you could easily write another book or two or three or four if you wanted to. I'm not going to, but you could do that.
Question for you. Two questions on it.
Yeah.
So Michael Grogan.
Yeah.
What is his association with? Is there association that he has with the Outlaws that he's writing this book, or is he just a journalistic researcher?
Good question. I actually don't know. What is Michael Grogan? There's not an about the author page. I don't know.
So that question remains hanging out there. We may do a little research and update people on a future episode if we find that out, exactly what his association with. But I'm going to guess that if he's not mentioning it, like, did you actually read the book cover to cover?
Yeah, I've read the book.
Okay, so he's not writing it from like a first-person perspective, it's probably just like a researcher that's into the Outlaws.
No, I don't think he's anything associated with them. I don't recall. I feel like I had an email conversation with him many, many years ago, but I can't recall. It wasn't really pertinent. The overlap between that and Mafia is almost non-existent. So if it was a great conversation, I apologize that I don't remember, but I don't.
And the other aspect of it is that the leader of the Outlaws, I'm assuming
yes.
You're talking about is not in the book, right? Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
He's getting out of prison very recently, or is he out of prison at this point?
By the time people hear this, he'll definitely be out. Do
you remember off the top of your head? I want to say July 16th. Does that sound right?
Yes, I've heard. Well, so somebody said that he got out in May, but the official prison website says, I believe, July. Yeah.
Okay.
But either way, by the time people hear this, it'll already have happened.
He'll be out, and so you'll get to hear a little bit of his backstory on what landed him in jail today, hopefully.
A little bit.
All right, so take her away.
Okay, so the original Outlaws Motorcycle Club was founded way back when in, want to guess a year?
No, because I have no idea what era this would be. I would go 50s.
Oh yeah, you would, and I feel for you. I would probably guess 50s too, but it's even older. 1935.
Okay.
1935, outside of Chicago, Illinois. But that group we're not really concerned with at first. The group we're more concerned with is a group called the Gypsy Outlaws, which were a club formed in Milwaukee. In 1964, they dropped the Gypsy Outlaws name and just became the Outlaws. In motorcycle club language, this is called being patched over.
Okay.
This is like you lose the patch on the back of your jacket and you get the new patch saying you're now aligned with this other group.
Okay.
So they're now just Outlaws. The founders were three brothers out of West Allis. They don't seem like they were really bad. I mean, they're bad guys.
Okay.
I mean, like, one of them is arrested for rape. Like, they're not nice guys. But as far as, like, massive, like, organized criminals, they're not, like, big-time guys.
So would you, based on what the research you looked at with this, would you go as far as to say, like, this wasn't started to be a malicious, evil thing? It was just a bunch of guys that liked the motorcycle.
Yeah, it's tough. This is something that's really hard to determine. If you ask them, see, they use the term motorcycle club.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to motorcycle gang.
Right.
Like, they don't typically like being referred to as a gang.
Which is understandable.
But at the same time, certain of these organizations, the Outlaws, the Hells Angels, and a few others, they identify as what they call one percenter.
Okay.
And that comes from a quote where someone in law enforcement a long time ago said 99% of all motorcycle riders are law-abiding people.
Okay. So
they then took that and said, we're the 1%. We're the bad guys.
Okay.
And even the Outlaws group in Milwaukee, like, that's where the book title comes from, You Gotta Be Dirty. The founder said to join his group, you gotta be dirty. What we did is we gathered together the biggest hellraisers in town and we put them together into one group.
Okay.
So, like, they always kind of walk this line where they'll say that they're not a gang,
mm-hmm.
but they're definitely not trying to claim that they're not rowdy, hard partying people who push the limits of the law.
Right, but I guess where I'm looking at it is they don't come into this like, okay, we're going to peddle a bunch of drugs and stuff like that. They probably started this as, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
I would say that some people probably joined specifically for that reason.
Okay.
But some probably do not. So okay. I couldn't tell you what makes somebody want to join up. I mean, for some people, they might just think, this is really cool. I want to join up. And then they start getting involved in stuff they don't want to be in. But I feel like everybody kind of know, like, I don't ride a motorcycle. But if I did, I think I kind of know that, like, I don't want to join the Hells Angels.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's a bad idea.
Yeah, like, I sort of, like, and that's not even a reflection on them. Like, I just know that's not the sort of person that I'm going to want to hang out with.
Mm-hmm.
So they clearly have an image.
Right.
All right. Yeah, largely what they're known for is violence. And the violence seems to be between the different motorcycle clubs. That's primarily who's getting attacked is people in other motorcycle clubs. Okay. The average citizen is not typically going to be worried about this.
Okay.
There's exceptions, but like in 1970, there was a big party in Sheboygan because in Sheboygan there was a motorcycle club called the Untouchables, and the Untouchables wanted to join the Outlaws. So they threw a big party to kind of see, are we going to get along and can you join us? Didn't work out so well. One of the members there ended up getting stabbed and killed.
Wow.
And then the wife of the Untouchables president was shot multiple times. And her body was later found buried outside of Sheboygan. So did not go well for the Untouchables. Yeah. 1974, I'm pretty sure we did an episode on this actually. In 1974, there was a small motorcycle club in Milwaukee called the Heaven's Devils. And the Outlaws didn't like that. They didn't like that there was another club starting up in Milwaukee. And so they started harassing them. And the thing that I'm pretty sure we did an episode about was they had planted a bomb that was intended for the leader of the Heaven's Devils, but it was picked up by a 15-year-old paper boy who was then blown up.
Okay, I actually think I remember this episode. I remember a paper boy being blown up.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully that hasn't happened twice.
No. Pretty sure it's will be the same thing. Yeah, and I'm just random incidents like this. There's a lot of stuff that I'm jumping around. 1977, there's 3 members of the Outlaws involved in bar fight at the Bus Stop Tavern in Milwaukee. It gets out of hand. The police show up, and the police actually beat one of the bikers to death. The coroner decides that this is not, this was justifiable. Like this, you had to beat them to get them to stop fighting. So you killed a guy, but it was cool. It had to be done. And I gotta say, one thing that's kind of fun about the Outlaws, probably other motorcycle clubs too, but the Outlaws, everybody has a name. Like you get a new name when you join. So in this bar fight, there's guys named Sledge, Rocker, Horrible Harry. You always get like a new name when you join. So
interesting.
So it's kind of fun. By the 1980s, the DEA is looking into them. They claim that the Milwaukee chapter of the Outlaws was controlling the methamphetamine market in Wisconsin. Don't know. I mean, sure.
Nothing major arrests or anything as far as that
Not
goes?
about meth, no.
No? Okay.
Yeah, in another case, Milwaukee police are called when someone is involved in a fight and starts breaking things in a bar. By the time the police arrive, they're gone, but they get word that the person is now in another bar, so they go to another bar and they find members of the Outlaws, including one of the leaders of the Milwaukee Outlaws, who goes by the name Shock.
Okay.
Which is a cool name. These guys, bikers are big dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them, but generally they're big dudes. Like, so this guy that they track down, he was smashing up the one bar. They find him in the next bar, and he's fully armed. He's got his guns on him, which you're not supposed to have in a bar. This guy is huge. He's 6'5" and 320
Wow.
pounds. Like, massive guy. So they find him. They lock him up for carrying a weapon in a bar. 1987, a rival biker and his wife are found shot to death in Washington County. In 1992, about 40 members of the Outlaws crashed the party held by another rival motorcycle club called the Sinners. They start pressuring the Sinners to wear their patch, the Outlaws patch, on their vest to show that they are aligned with the Outlaws, because it's like you either are aligned with the Outlaws or don't be hanging out around Milwaukee. There's very territorial things going on. If you're in a motorcycle club in the Milwaukee area, you got to be aligned with the Outlaws.
Okay.
Like, again, the other major club is the Hells Angels. You do not want to be a Hells Angel in Milwaukee. That is a bad idea. So
just because the Hells Angels have such a bad reputation?
No,
or?
because they're not if you're a Hell's Angel, you're not an outlaw.
So the
you can't be affiliated with both.
Okay.
So like it's
because like
let's say that the Outlaws are hardcore Green Bay Packer fans, and the Hell's Angels are walking in all wearing Chicago Bears jerseys.
Right.
It's like that.
Yeah.
But to an extreme violent end.
So now, but the Hell's Angels are like a nationwide gang, right?
They all are.
They all are?
Yeah.
The Outlaws are as well?
Outlaws are too.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Like, they have different chapters. I'm just talking about the Milwaukee chapter, basically, because that's what we care about is the Milwaukee part of it. But yes, there's Outlaws all over. Okay, so they crashed this party of the Sinners. The Sinners don't want to wear the patch, and because they don't want to, they end up stabbing a guy with a screwdriver. The Sinners guy's nickname is Pee-wee, which is a terrible nickname for a biker, but
probably it's just because he was a small dude, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Afterwards, the Sinners held a vote about whether they would want to join or go to war with the Outlaws. Only 6 of the club's 26 members wanted to do either one, and instead they decided that they were going to just break up the club. It's like, let's just stop. So the Sinners were not hardcore. The Sinners decided that if it's going to come down to people getting stabbed, we're out.
Yeah.
92, a man named Donald Wagner is killed by the Outlaws in Racine. 1993, Ruth and Morris Gouger, who are an elderly couple, are killed by the Outlaws at their motorcycle shop. They're killed by a guy whose nickname is Madman, which is, again, a great name. There is a motorcycle drag race in Milwaukee in June 1993 where the leader of the Hells Angels in Minnesota is going to come and compete. And they know he's going to come and compete.
Okay.
And they tell him, like, we don't have a problem with that. Like, this is a motorcycle drag race. You're a motorcycle guy. We don't have a problem with you coming and doing the drag race. But you can't wear your Hells Angels jacket when you do it.
And he did anyways.
And
right?
he's like, I'm going to do it. He's like, I'm going to do it. So the Outlaws leader at this time is a guy who goes by the name Taco.
Okay.
Again,
Another
awesome name. Taco.
That's not a bad name.
Taco. He gets together 25 or 30 outlaws, and he goes and confronts the Minnesota guy. They arrive at his motel with submachine guns, leading to an armed standoff between Outlaws and Angels in the motel. The Outlaws warned him that if he took part in the race while wearing his Hells Angels patch, he would have a problem. At first, the Hells Angel guy said that, I'm going to do it anyway. But he ended up talking to a superior. So he's like the head of the Minnesota chapter. He ends up talking to a guy who's sort of like the national president. And the national president is like, yeah, don't do it. Like it's bad for you, but it's going to be bad for all of us. Just don't do it. Later that same year, the Outlaws suspected that the Hells Angels were trying to gain ground in Chicago by patching over a club called the Hells Henchmen, who had chapters in Chicago, Rockford, Calumet City, and South Bend, Indiana. So I don't know the Hells Henchmen, but apparently they've got a few different groups. They didn't have a lot of people, but they had existed for a while. The Outlaws didn't have a problem with them. The Outlaws kind of said, you're a small group. You're sort of outside our territory. If you don't expand and you don't go into our territory, we don't have a problem with you. But then the Outlaws started to worry because they heard that the Hells Angels were going to come in and patch them over. And they're like, now we have a problem because you're like on the outskirts of our territory, which is fine when you're just like a no-name gang. But when you become Hells Angels, that's going to be a problem. This guy named Pat Matter, who is the Minnesota guy, the Minnesota Hells Angel, He's apparently the one who's trying to expand the group into Illinois and Indiana more. So they've this guy is just, he keeps poking them.
Mm-hmm.
The Outlaws leader named Taco said, all right, I'm done with this. And he orders this Minnesota guy to be assassinated. He gets a hit squad together consisting of the previous guy I mentioned named Madman, along with a guy named Rhino and a guy named Preacher.
Mm-hmm.
They round up guys from both the Milwaukee and the Janesville chapters of the Outlaws, and they go to Minnesota, where they start conducting surveillance on the Minnesota guy, try to get a sense of what his schedule is, when he's certain places. They start taking notes. One of the guys taking notes is Shock, outlaw named Shock, who's kind of like a real high-level guy in Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
However, they ended up canceling the hit because after days of surveillance, they never found a time to get a clear shot at him. So they ended up sort of backing off. But then again, later, they come back, and they're like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to just bomb him. So we don't have to track him down and find him at a certain time. We're just going to put a bomb in his truck, and when he goes to his truck, it'll get him. We don't have to plan this out. That failed because they planted C4 in his truck, but it accidentally went off while they were planting it. Instead, greatly injuring the outlaws who were planting it. So this Minnesota guy is very lucky.
And now he's in that much more trouble because now he just injured two outlaws.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah. So now they're still trying to get this Hell's Henchmen group to go away. Like if they're going to merge with Hell's Angels, we don't like you anymore. So a couple members of the Outlaws, including a guy named Jammin' Jay.
Love the names.
Jammin' Jay, whose real name is Carl. So how he gets Jammin' Jay, I don't know. But another guy named Shemp. They get 100 pounds of C4, which sounds like a lot to me.
That sounds like a huge amount.
And they planted in a 1989 Ford Taurus that was planted outside the headquarters of the Hell's Henchmen. It goes off. No casualties are reported, although a steel door to the clubhouse was damaged and windows in a number of buildings with parked cars in the area were blown out. At that time, it was the second largest car bombing in United States history.
Holy cow! When did this happen?
94. This is 94 now. The only bigger car bombing was the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. For people who are too young to remember, the World Trade Center was bombed before it went down.
It was bombed.
Before it was bombed. In 93, somebody parked a exploding vehicle
filled
underneath
with
it.
fertilizer or something,
Yeah.
right? Like it was a fertilizer bomb.
Yeah, so that was the largest at that time, and then this bombing was the second largest. How they determine that, I don't know. I'm guessing it must be by the size of the bomb, because it's clearly not by casualties if nobody died.
Yeah.
But
because this one seems like pretty, not the World Trade Center was bad, but the one you're talking about here seems like it was almost nothing, and just a little bit of damage. It didn't even significantly damage a building.
Yeah,
for that matter.
In June 1997, the U.S. Attorney Tom Schneider indicts 17 outlaw members on racketeering charges covering crimes of arson, bombings, robberies, 6 murders, 5 attempted murders, covering guys in Milwaukee and Janesville, and one guy who was a member in lacrosse. So I don't know where this lacrosse guy is doing, but apparently he's been hanging out with the wrong guys. Most of these charges relate to this war with the Hells Angels. Most of the murders relate to these guys fighting. I'm not even mentioning everything. we could go on for days and days with all this stuff going on. They were able to put an indictment together because 2 former members of the Outlaws quit and they started talking to law enforcement. Those guys, I want to mention their nicknames. One is named Crash, which is fine. That's a perfectly acceptable nickname. The other guy has the worst nickname of any motorcycle rider I have ever heard.
Okay.
His nickname is the Lord of Laziness.
Don't know how he got that nickname.
I don't know. But if you're hanging out at a party, everybody's drinking and going wild, and you got a guy named Crash and Shock and Madman, and then the Lord of Laziness walks in. Like, I don't know, man.
It's almost like complete isolation there. Nobody wants to talk to a guy named the Lord of Laziness.
Yeah. Yeah, so that knocks him down a bit. A few years later, in 2001, 6 outlaws are indicted on federal racketeering and drug conspiracy charges. They had been investigated for years by the ATF, along with state and local law enforcement agencies. 5 of the bikers were arrested following raids on their headquarters. The indictment said that the outlaws were responsible for drug trafficking and numerous incidents related to the gang war with the Hells Angels, including bombings and the murders of Hells Angels members Michael Quayle and Jack Castle. Facing the possibility of life imprisonment, one of the members turned state's evidence, started working for the government. Coward. Come on, man. In 2006, Jack Rozga, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that's how I'm going to say it, whose nickname is Milwaukee Jack.
Okay.
Not super clever as a name, because his name is Jack and he's in Milwaukee. But Milwaukee Jack isn't just the head of the Milwaukee Outlaws. He actually gets named the national president of the Outlaws.
Wow. Okay.
So this is a big deal because now Milwaukee is, it's not like it's the national headquarters, but
it's a lot more recognized.
It's a lot more recognized.
Yeah.
Because now all the outlaws throughout the country know that their leader is in Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Rozga Milwaukee Jack is smarter, I guess, than a lot of other of these guys. He seems to be more like mob boss about how he handles things. Already at this point, I'm pretty sure that the Outlaws clubhouse headquarters in Milwaukee is basically a fortress.
Okay.
Like, I mean, everything is multiple doors to get in. There's security. Everything is steel. Like, you're not getting in and out. So, like, anything going on in there, nobody knows unless they're allowed in. The FBI is not going to be able to plant a microphone in that building. Like, they're not getting in.
See, isn't it interesting? Because by all means, the mafia would have had the resources to build something like that too. And they never did. And that's curious to me.
It's just kind of a different thing. I mean, the mafia meets in, like, offices.
Yeah.
And hotels and things like that. These guys, if you see their clubhouse, I can't show a picture because this is audio, but if you see their clubhouse, like, they're not, like, hiding it. There's a big Outlaws, like, emblem on the outside.
Is there? Okay.
Like, it's not a secret clubhouse. They want you to know that it's there, and you're not getting in.
Interesting.
But anyway, yeah, so there's like the FBI can't really sneak in and plant a bug. And unlike certain other places, like, there's guys there 24 hours a day, you know, because they're bikers. They're coming and going all hours of the night. So So Milwaukee Jack doesn't seem to be personally involved in anything, but he is alleged to order murders throughout the country. For example, he has one of his guys named Tomcat.
Gavin loves these names.
I do. A guy named Tomcat shoot a Hells Angels member in Maine. I mean, so you'd be like, oh, you ordered the murder of this guy in Maine. And he's like, I've never left Milwaukee. Like, that's harder to prove, right?
Right,
like,
absolutely.
Like, how do you show that he ordered it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough. It's tough, like, legally as well, because let's say I want somebody dead, okay? And so I hire a hitman, and I pay the hitman, and then the hitman kills somebody.
There's a paper trail.
There's a paper trail, and under most states, I'm as guilty for the murder as the hitman is.
Okay.
But yeah, like there's a connection there. It's like, oh, I gave you money and you did the thing. Well, here, like, he's not paying them. He might just be meeting a guy in the clubhouse saying, hey, I think this guy should be killed. And then 2 weeks later, the guy is killed.
Mm-hmm.
That's tougher to prove that he's directly involved. Because that's like if I walk up to a guy and I say, oh, man, Tony really gets on my nerves. I wish somebody would kick his ass.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody kicks his ass. I didn't tell anybody to kick his ass.
Or if you did, they have to prove that you told that person to kick their ass.
He's much smarter about, I think, he's much smarter about how he's handling things here, because when this comes down, so he's a leader for about 4 years before the ATF comes in and arrests 27 members of the Outlaws, which is not just in Milwaukee, but they round up some other guys other places too. And Milwaukee Jack is taken into custody, and he is sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. If I was a defense attorney, like, I would argue the hell out of that, and they did. That how are you proving that? Like, you're listening, oh, Milwaukee Jack ordered this guy killed. Based on what?
Yeah.
Like, I don't doubt that he did. Like, I'm not trying to defend the guy. I'm pretty sure he did. But
if the guy he told to him to says, no, he never told me that, and the guy that supposedly said it never did.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you prove it?
Right. Right. That's really because like, you can't get somebody just for like saying certain things. We all, when we're not being recorded by the FBI, we all make comments that, taken out of context,
could be used,
are very not okay to say.
Yeah.
Like, I don't typically walk around saying I wish somebody would kill this guy, but people might.
Yeah. If you get upset, it might slip out at one point in time, So Milwaukee Jack
goes away. It's supposed to be 20 years, but of course, it's never really 20 years, but it seems like it's about 15, which is pretty good. And then this year, 2026, he was released. By the time you hear this, he'll have been released. And apparently they expect him to go back to Milwaukee and rejoin the club. I don't know. Maybe if I was him, I wouldn't. But
that's crazy. So one of the things I find really interesting about this group is just, I mean, they literally sound like a group that's just, they just go out and they look for fights to start. Like,
oh yeah,
there's not a whole lot of, like, I know that these gangs are involved in drugs, but you didn't really talk about too much about the drug interaction. So either they're really good drug dealers or they're not too deep into that, I would imagine.
It's weird because I think that's the criminal stuff they're primarily known for, but it doesn't come up in the news that much. I don't know why. Maybe the newspaper just finds it more interesting when guys get into bar fights than when they're dealing drugs, and that's something we can ask. We can ask Sergeant Pat about.
Yeah,
because I have a few questions about how you would even bust them for that.
mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get into that right now. I'll ask him when we do it, but I have a few like logistical questions about how you would even do it. So
Yeah, and I will also say that it is so, and you know, like I compare things that are similar. So I'm going to compare this to if anybody listening to this podcast has been listening to a long time when we had Berto on, and he talked a lot about the Latin Kings. It just seems like the Latin Kings over the years, like in the last 20, 30 years, they've had two massive crackdowns where their gang was depleted and then they had to rebuild it kind of a deal. And I don't hear that in this story. It seems like the Outlaws have just been operating pretty much. I mean, there's incidents, people go to jail, things like that. But
I would say, yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I would say that the crackdowns were probably bigger in the last 30 years than they were in the previous 30 years. Because so much more of it is on the federal level now.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think the crackdowns have increased. But I don't know that it's really done anything to stop them.
Which is really impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, in a scary kind of way that this group can just continue to operate. Can have a sign on their headquarters.
Oh, yeah. The Outlaws Clubhouse is there. And while I was looking into this, not too long ago, like within the last couple of years, they opened a clubhouse in Lomira, which, if people don't know, it's kind of by Fond du Lac.
Okay.
And like it made the news that they opened a clubhouse there, and the news like interviewed the sheriff, and the sheriff is like I can't do anything about that. Like there's nothing illegal about having a clubhouse and riding your motorcycles. He's like, I can't pull them over just for riding motorcycles. He goes, if they cause trouble, we're going to do something about it. He goes, but there's nothing I can do about them, you know, quote unquote, expanding into Fond du Lac. Like, that's not a crime.
That's crazy. That is crazy. It just seems like, I mean, when you tell this story, the parallels between this and the Latin Kings are extremely similar.
Yeah.
It seems like, I don't know, they just seem to fly way, way, way more under the radar than a typical gang does.
The
Outlaws? Yeah, I think so.
I mean, they're not doing a very good job when they're wearing jackets saying
no, but I mean, but they're just, I mean, the majority of the things you talked about are just inner-fighting between different gangs. Yeah. Like it's almost like the cops are kind of leaving them alone because they're not causing a ruckus outside of their little world. You know what I mean?
It's, what can you do?
That is true.
You can't pull a guy over for wearing a jacket.
Yeah.
That's not a crime. So if the police start randomly pulling over outlaws that they see, on the hopes that they're going to catch them
with something,
eventually that reaches the point of harassment.
Yep.
And then it goes the other way where they as a club can sue for harassment. And so it's a balance. Like, obviously the police know that they're doing things they shouldn't be doing, but you can't just pull people over or detain them without knowing they're doing something. So it's weird that they can advertise and still like be, outlaws, and like that's okay. But that's not a crime in and of itself.
And the other thing I find interesting, and this goes for the mafia, gangs, and even motorcycle clubs. What is the obsession with territory?
I don't know.
like, at what point does it make it worth it killing somebody because they step in your neighborhood, And it's not even really your neighborhood. It's not like the Outlaws own Milwaukee.
No.
You know what I
no.
mean? It's just such a weird dynamic that, I don't know, Maybe there's a very, very sensible explanation for that, but I can't understand it. You know?
It's just business, man. It's just business. If Milwaukee and the surrounding area has nothing but Pizza Huts, and then Papa John's moves in, man,
all the Pizza Huts, it only makes sense.
The Pizza Hut drivers got to go to Papa John's and beat them up.
I mean, that's essentially what it is, and it's just like,
well, that is what it is, like, because let's say that the Outlaws are meth dealers. And I don't want to say that they're all meth dealers because I don't want them getting mad at me. But let's say they're dealing meth, and then Hell's Angels open up a clubhouse and they start dealing meth. Well, like, literally,
I see that conflict there.
They're cutting into the business.
But as we told these stories, it just seemed like, I ran into a biker gang in my bar and I beat the shit out of them because that's what we do. And it's like, to me, that just doesn't make sense at all.
Maybe not, but I guess part of it is you just got an image you got to maintain.
I guess. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
So we will look forward to that. Do you got anything else for this one?
Not really. If people listening want more Outlaw stories, we can do more Outlaw stories. Like, we can get into more detail about certain incidents. So if people are aware of an incident and they're like, hey, I'd love to hear a story on this, send me an email, milwaukeemafia@gmail.com. We'll cover it. I don't typically do it because we're so Milwaukee Mafia specifically focused, but it is organized crime.
Right.
So
and it is Milwaukee.
And it is Milwaukee. So I'm not at all opposed to sprinkling in a few motorcycle stories here and there. So if someone has one they want covered, let me know and we'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, send those emails in because I'd love to hear more of these stories just because I think this dynamic is just interesting too. It kind of opens your, I think we all think about that. There's motorcycle gangs out there, but I probably learned 10 times as much about a motorcycle gang just from this episode than I would have known initially.
Yeah, so. I don't even know a lot, and I live like 2 blocks away from the DC Eagles clubhouse.
Where is the DC Eagles clubhouse?
Oh, you don't know?
Is it a bar?
No, it's not a bar. It's like a motorcycle shop.
Oh, no, I don't know where that is. That's interesting.
Yeah. You don't know? They got in a shootout with the police a couple years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I did not know that. I've personally been to a motorcycle club. That was a little weird. So, years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm told it was a good motorcycle club, not a bad motorcycle club.
Okay.
But I'm like, this guy was taking me to this place, and I walk up, and I'm like, hold on. Before we go any further, I need to know what I'm walking into. And he's like, well, this is my motorcycle clubhouse. Okay. And I'm like, okay. It looked like a 70s bar, if anybody was wondering. So
these were just like guys who like going on like country rides and stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was a perfectly harmless club that I mean, they was all 70-year-old guys. And they were all talking about hacking Kindle Fires when I was there.
Oh, yeah. So. That's some pretty hardcore gang stuff there, yeah.
So all right. With that, we will wrap this episode up. Again, we'll have that interview coming up next for you. Gavin, where can people reach out? I know you mentioned it before.
I did. I said, email milwaukeemafia@gmail.com. I've been getting some good emails lately. Keep them coming. We also have a Patreon, which you can find... I believe if you go to milwaukeemafia.com/Patreon.
No, it's patreon.com/Milwaukee Mafia.
Oh, see, this is what I know. Nothing.
But you can also go to milwaukeemafia.com and find links all over the page for it.
So sign up for that. We recently had somebody sign up as a higher tiered member than most people. So
well, we thank you for that.
Yeah, big thank you for that one. That was nice.
All right, with that, we'll wrap this episode up. We'll be back next week with a Patreon episode and 2 weeks with another Mafia episode. Thanks, everybody, for the continued support of the podcast. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Milwaukee Mafia podcast. Join us next time for another look back at Wisconsin Mafia and true crime history.